Hello and welcome to Aging is for Everyone. I'm Laura Mondello and I'm your host for the show. Today we are focusing our entire show on things to do and see in North Tonawanda. It's North Tonawanda's turn today. Here to tell us a little bit about the Herschell Factory Carousel Museum is Katie Loveless. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. Tell us about the Carousel Museum.
Well, the museum itself is actually housed in the old factory building for the Herschell company. That was actually started in 1916. The carousel that we actually have at the museum we think was one of the very first ones produced there. But actually that was not the first carousel factory in North Tonawanda. Mr. Herschell actually had started making carousels several decades before that. He had a factory just a few blocks away, and actually the Herschell Company building that we're in was actually sort of his retirement project. He had retired from a career of carousel manufacturing, and then after a couple years, I guess decided he was bored and started a new company. So the first factory isn't there really today anymore. It's the carousel apartments. Some of it's been just converted to other use. But the building that we're in is the factory that was opened in 1916. It operated there through the mid-50s. Eventually moved down to Buffalo and then out to Kansas, and unfortunately the Herschell Company as a manufacturer doesn't really exist anymore today, but we have the museum which allows us to actually tell the story of how those hand-carved carousels were made and the importance of the factory in North Tonawanda's history.
That's great. It sounds like a lot of history there.
It really is. It's the factory is on both the state and the national registers of historic places, and actually the carousel is too. So if you're somebody who likes to travel and check off things in your guidebook, I always say you can get two checks at our place because you actually get two historic sites in one.
Great, great. So what is there to do? I mean, obviously it's a carousel museum that used to be a factory. Going on the carousel is probably a fun thing to do, but what ages would that be appropriate for? Who comes to the Carousel Museum? We
really get just about everybody. I think, of all the different places I've worked, I think that the Carousel Factory Museum really is the place that has just the broadest appeal to everybody, because we get toddlers in there and they love it. They just love the animals and the colors and the sounds and riding on the carousel, but then we get their parents who love it because they see their kids having fun, and then grandparents love it too, and they have memories of themselves as a kid. So we get everything from families coming to visit, we get school tour groups, we even have preschools that come, especially around the holidays. We do kind of holiday themed tours, but then we get a lot of just adult tour groups as well, people who come and visit Niagara Falls and realize there's a whole lot more to do in the area. And it's just, I love talking with people because people, who are a little older have these memories of these carousels that they remember riding as a kid, and going and trying to get the brass ring for the free ride, and so I think it's actually the place that really kind of appeals to all generations, and you can bring your kids and your parents and everybody will have a great time. There is a lot to do at the museum besides the carousel, though I do think that is kind of the highlight, and nobody ever leaves unhappy because you can't stop smiling when you ride the carousel. But we have the museum set up to kind of talk about the different production parts of the carousel. So you actually go out onto what was originally the carving floor. We have part of it set up so you can see how the horses were produced. We don't make carousels for sale anymore. We do have carvers that come and volunteer their time just to demonstrate the process. But they would have 75 or 80 men out there carving 12 and 14-hour days, 6 days a week, and we can't find anybody that wants to do that for free. So our production is a little slower than that. So you can see the carving process. We also have a section on the music of the carousel, because if you ride a carousel without the music, it's really just not the same. We say it's like half a ride. So the music was mostly produced by the Wurlitzer Company, which was also in North Tonawanda. But the machinery to make it's very specialized, and what we have is, we think, the last remaining set in existence, and so we felt it was important to preserve that since it is really such an important part of the ride. Then we also have an area where the horses were painted, and we really don't have much equipment for that, but we have a really great collection of historic animals. think about 30 animals in there from all different time periods. You can see how the design changed over time.
Right.
See things like, you know, not everything's a horse. We've got chicken and ostrich and pig and dog and stuff like that in there. We have a hands-on children's gallery for kids. It's got puzzles and toys and games. And then we also have started to try and focus a little bit on some of the later rides that were produced. The company's really famous for their carousels, but after about the 30s, those really weren't a big seller anymore, and they made what are called kiddie rides. The little cars and boats that we can't ride anymore because we're kind of outgrown them, but that, you know, kids love. A lot of times you see them sort of set up at a special section of amusement park, and really after the 30s, those were the big seller for the company. And we have a couple little exhibit areas of that inside the building, but we've also just kind of done a big expansion outside to create a little testing park area.
Okay, and is that your kiddie land?
That's
area?
the kiddie land. We call it the Kiddie Land Testing Park, and it's actually inspired by the fact that when the company produced these rides, they tested them before they sent them out, but they wanted to make sure they would test okay with riders in them. And sometimes they'd bring in sandbags and things like that and put it in, you know, on the rides. But a lot of times they would just turn on, you know, a band organ, that music that's really loud.
Right.
The kids in the neighborhood would hear it, and they'd all come in to get a free.
Sort of like the ice cream truck.
Yeah, except they were the safety testers, which you realize
kind of scary.
It's kind of scary, but you know, they got free rides, and so we set ours up that way. Kids can come and ride. We've got a little boat ride, car ride, little horse and buggy, and then a helicopter. And the helicopter can actually carry adults too.
Okay.
But the others are just for kids. But they can come in and sort of pretend like they're there for a free test ride. And you know, it is a part of the museum. That is one thing that we really stress, is that we aren't an amusement park, because our goal really is history and education. But we know that those types of activities did go on at the factory, and we consider it an interactive exhibit, and you really, I think, do get a better appreciation for what the company was really making when you can experience it.
Right.
So, you know, people who come to the museum and pay the museum admission, access to the kiddie park is included, and rides on any of, you know, the kiddie rides or the carousels are just 50 cents each.
Okay.
And I think people come and just, they have fun on the rides, but I think they also come away after visiting the museum with a much greater appreciation that there really is a lot of history behind it.
Right. And we should probably mention where the museum is located. We know it's in North Tonawanda.
It is in North Tonawanda. It's at 180 Thompson Street, which if anybody, I'm very GPS dependent, make sure you put North Tonawanda, because there is a Thompson Street in Buffalo, and they are not the same. But it's interesting. It has a very residential feeling. I mean, there's not a lot of other businesses, you know, right there on the corner. So it's just kind of a nice little neighborhood secret there.
Right, right. And we've got the phone number and the website, and we're going to have you back a little bit later in the show too. So thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Aging is for Everyone. Welcome back to Aging is for Everyone. We're talking all about North Tonawanda today, places to go, things to do. And one great place to check out is the North Tonawanda Farmers Market. Here to tell us about the market is the market manager, John Long. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Laura.
It's so good to have
Pleasure
you.
to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. You were telling me, before the show started about the history of the market. Why don't you just let us know a little bit about that?
Sure. The market was actually formed in 1908. It's one of the oldest markets in New York State. It's on a square acre of land at Robinson and Payne Avenue in North Tonawanda. And originally it was a building with meat people, cheese people, and a fish store, and the farmers would all be around the outside. They originally came up in wagons from, the ridge, in Niagara County.
Right.
So it expanded from there. And
Right.
It's been around now 105 years.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that the market had such a long history. That's terrific. So the market is where it was originally.
Correct.
Okay.
The same acre of land. 1 square acre was set aside for the market in 1908.
That's great. And nobody's encroached upon that.
No.
That's amazing. So who actually runs the market? I mean, I know you're the market manager, but is there a group that owns it, or?
No, the city of North Carolina actually owns the market.
Oh, okay.
It's a city market, but I actually run the market for the city.
Okay. So it is a city-run farmers market.
Yes, that's correct.
That's not something that you see too often these days. So if somebody's watching and they're thinking a farmer's market, why would I want to go to a farmer's market as opposed to just going to like Tops? What's the benefit of kind of getting out there and going to the market?
Well, there's nothing like fresh food that's picked the day before that morning.
Right.
I mean, if anybody's ever had asparagus or corn that's fresh picked, it's a world of difference. Even the fruits, melons, you can smell the melons 200 feet away when the farmers bring them out. That's how fresh they are.
Yeah.
And this time is the height of the season. September, October is the end of the growing season. That's when everything's harvested. So
Right.
a lot of the fruits are done now, but now we have the apples coming in. You have corn, you have tomatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, squash, melons, watermelons. And people don't think about all that. It's all growing around this area.
Right.
Because of the ridge, because of the ice age, the great glaciers came down. We have beautiful soil around here.
Right.
So that's why we have such a good growing area.
Right. And like you said, you're getting stuff that's been grown locally by a local farmer.
Correct.
That's terrific, because you're really supporting local agriculture if you go to a market.
And anybody that's been to that's had broccoli or cauliflower or corn, if they buy it at the store, it's shipped in from somewhere. I mean, it could be from New York State, but it could be from Mexico, it could be from Southern California, but there's a world of difference in flavor.
Right.
With fresh picked vegetables.
Right, right. And you're talking about that this is kind of the height of the season when we're taping this, but the market is not just open, during the height of the season.
No, our market's open Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and we're open year-round. During the winter time, it's more or less just Saturdays.
Okay.
But there's still 20 vendors there because we have more than farmers there.
Right.
We have artisans, we have bakeries, we have food vendors, I have a beekeeper that sells his own honey there. I have things like that. We sell coffee, there's sausage makers, there's heritage beef, there's heritage pork, there's chickens and eggs, all locally grown, farm raised, organic.
Great, great. And how many vendors do you have?
At this time of year, I have 100 on Saturday.
Okay.
Farmers and vendors. I have 132 spots and 100 vendors.
Okay. And so Saturday's probably your busiest day,
That's the
would you say?
busiest one. On Thursdays, we have about 50 vendors, mostly farmers, because most of the crafters and things come in on Saturday. But and Tuesday's a little slower, but we still have about 30 vendors.
Right. I would say that probably makes you a little bit different, that you're year-round than some of the farmers markets.
Yes, most markets aren't year-round, and we are a totally outdoor market. We don't have indoors.
Okay. So even during winter, you're still out there?
Unless we have 2 feet of snow, which doesn't happen that often.
Yeah. So you have, you know, obviously, like you said, you have all kinds of produce and different types of vendors. You have organic. Some people are just organic farmers, or
I have 1 or 2 organic farmers.
Okay.
Not too many. We do have organic beef, organic pork.
Okay.
You know, and like I said, we have people that make their own sausage. We have smoked sausage. And like the bakeries, we have crafters. And we have, you know, we have a coffee person that roasts their own beans, so they sell fresh coffee there.
so it sounds like somebody can get pretty much everything they might want to.
Pretty much everything, and even for the dog lovers, we have 3 vendors that make their own dog cookies from scratch, and they're
Really?
all organic dog cookies.
Right. Now, do most of the vendors, as far as do they take cash or credit cards, or does it depend on the vendors?
Well, most take cash, some take credit cards, but we also have the food stamp program, which was started a couple years ago, where you swipe your card and you get tokens just for the market.
Okay.
So you can use your food stamps at the market, and it's just a token thing.
Okay.
And that's a big program. That turned out great the last couple of years.
I would think so, because that way you can get some really good fresh food and use your food stamps. Would you say that the prices are comparable to or less than?
Oh, they're a lot
supermarkets?
less. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you buy 8 quarts of this or 4 quarts of that. It's instead of paying by the pound, you're probably getting at least twice as much.
Right, right. So people can find out more about the market. How can they find out more?
Well, if they go on, just look up NT Farmers Market or NT City Market. It'll pop up on Facebook. It'll pop up, you know, on the web.
Right. And if they wanted to find their way there, remind us again of what the address would be they would put in.
Okay, it's on the corner of Payne and Robinson Street.
Okay.
It's off the 290. You get off the Coven Extension on the Twin Cities Memorial Highway, and you just go past the Graf Hospital if you're coming from the 290, and you take a left on Robinson Road, and just about a half mile down.
Can't miss it, huh?
No, you can't. And there's signs everywhere if
Yeah.
you notice the signs.
Yeah, just be on the lookout for it. Great. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot going on there, John. Sounds like a good place for people to visit.
Oh, it's a fantastic place. It's people meet there. You know, it's people haven't seen people in a year or so. They meet at the market. You know, there's people from everywhere in Western New York that come there.
Great, great. Well, it sounds like a great place to go out and take a ride and visit from all over Western New York.
Sure, definitely.
And our folks from Canada can come visit us.
Yes, they can.
Well, thank you for being with us, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for telling us about the market. We'll be right back with more Aging is for Everyone. Welcome back to Aging is for Everyone. We're talking all about North Tonawanda today. We've been talking about a couple great places to visit, and I have two of our guests back. First, we have John Long from the North Tonawanda Farmers Market. Thanks for being back, John.
Thank you.
Katie Loveless from the Herschell Carrousel Factory Museum. We're just wrapping up with some of the other questions we didn't get to on our first couple segments. John, you mentioned that you have some wine that people can get at the farmers market. That's a little unusual for a farmers market.
Well, a lot of the farmers markets have wine. We have winery. We have Chateau Buffalo that comes in, and they're out of Buffalo.
Right.
And we also have a few other wineries that come in once in a while from the Niagara Escarpment.
Okay, so we've got some
from the Niagara Wine Trail, and so it's something else that you can buy there.
Right, that's great. That's great. And you mentioned too that you've got, in addition to all of course, the fresh produce or other produce that's coming in throughout the year, you also have food vendors there. So if somebody's hungry and they happen to, you're not going to just maybe start chomping on some broccoli, but they can get some breakfast.
Yes, we have. Well, we have 3 or 4 people that make breakfast sandwiches. We have a hot dog vendor. We have the Amish that make sandwiches. We have once in a while we have food trucks there,
right,
which is unique. We also have a Chinese group they have a restaurant in Buffalo. They come down every Saturday, and they have Chinese food there.
Good.
And we have others that sell baked goods and cookies and things like that you can have. We also have, as I mentioned before, coffee, and and then during the summertime we have a person that has the ices, the frozen ice.
Okay.
So, and ice cream. So.
Well, you've got coffee. I've heard you also have some pretty good donuts down there.
Yes, we do. Somebody makes donuts right there on the spot, homemade donuts right there.
Yeah.
Kind of like Krispy Kreme, but a little bit different.
A little bit different, yeah. Somebody had mentioned to us that there's some people that are addicted to those donuts, so it might be worth it just to go and check those out.
Sure.
That's great. That's great. So there's obviously a lot of the great things to head down to the market for. And you mentioned, can you just mention again the dates and the dates that you're open?
Sure.
The days.
The market's open Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And once we get into the winter time, it is open on Tuesday and Thursday, but Saturday we have about 20 vendors there with assorted goods like cheeses, sausage, soups,